Welcome to a very special edition of Indianomics. This is on the Pension Fund Authority. Last week saw the launch of NPS Vatsalya, a scheme whereby parents can start saving for their child's pension at a very early age so as to take advantage of compounding. India's Pension Fund Regulation and Development Authority, which will run and monitor this scheme, believes that NPS Vatsalya is the need of the hour for a country like India that has the largest number of people under the age of 18, almost 400 million, and who are likely to live longer than their fathers and forefathers. Longevity is increasing. But NPS Vatsalya is only their new kid for the pension regulator. The older product is NPS, so the National Pension Scheme, and already that has a kitty of about 13 trillion rupees. Coming next year is the modified Unified Pension Scheme. So the PFRDA has its hands full. Now, October 1st is celebrated by the PFRDA as NPS Divas. And to mark this occasion and answer all our doubts on the various pension schemes, I have with me the man himself, the chairman of PFRDA, Mr. Deepak Mohanty. Mr. Mohanty, thank you very much, and more particularly for dropping into our studios.
Thank you, Latha. It's a pleasure to be in your show.
Thank you, sir. Well, first, much less is known about how much pension and PFRDA have spread their reach. Can you begin by telling us the numbers? How many account holders in Atal Pension Yojana and in NPS? How much? What is the kitty? Just some numbers.
Latha, the total number of subscribers at the moment that we have is about 7.8 crore.
Oh.
But the numbers are again driven by Atal Pension Yojana, which is a low ticket, pension scheme for between 1,000 to 5,000 rupees, and this is again aimed at low income deprived section of the society. So there we have got about 5.9 crore active accounts. When you talk of NPS as such, so we have about 1.54 crore NPS accounts. So out of that, NPS started for the government employees post 2004 who joined. So that's about 94 lakh of them we have. And then we have about 60 lakh of private, which means the corporate. And for that matter, anybody can join NPS, yes, the common person put together. So that's the kind of a number. And corpus, as you mentioned now, that currently it's about 13.3 lakh crore. Growing at a compound annual growth rate of about 30% per annum.
Okay.
So that is where we are. Of course, since APY is a small ticket pension scheme, so the corpus is about 41,000 crore.
Okay.
So,
and the APY scheme, the Atal Pension Yojana, is the word gets around by government officials, because I think it caters to the informal sector.
Yeah, that's right. Government officials, and also because all our points of presence, for example, banks, they are also clued on to APY, because it's a social security scheme of the government also in that sense, because it's partly subsidized by the government. It is guaranteed by the government. Okay. One gets a defined contribution and defined benefit plan, and one knows upfront how much one would have to contribute, what one would get, and government guarantees it. So there is also a push from the government. So all that put together, that we are getting this kind of a number.
Okay. Before I go to the NPS Vatsalya, which is quite clearly the new kid on the block and has not much by way of private sector competition, can you give us more numbers in terms of what is the return that has been coming from NPS? Is it comparable to the private sector participants?
Yeah, NPS returns have been very competitive. NPS one can do equity and debt and combination of all that.
So how much is the equity return?
Equity return that since inception annual returns are about 14.5% per annum. Of course, last year, even the current year running, the equity market has done pretty well, and the return that the pension NPS has given is about 37%.
Oh, really?
This year.
Then you have done better than many of the private sector pension funds. They have all given between 30 and 34.
And the interest rates are also coming down on the debt side. See, this year the GSEC portfolio in the NPS is also giving about 11.2% annual return. So they're pretty good return across debt and equity segment this year. And if you take, for example, the government scheme, which is a very conservative scheme, with equity about 15%, balance is debt. So that has, since inception for central government, has given an annual return of 9.6%. And of course, you look at the market and you can judge for yourself.
Yeah, it's definitely beating inflation and government bonds. So, and it is taxed at the hands when the individual receives it?
No, it is very tax efficiently exempt. Once the individual receives
so that makes it better than mutual.
Yes, that as NPS stands now, that at retirement one would have to annuitize 40%.
Yes.
60% you can do lump sum.
Yes.
So both are tax exempt.
So that makes it definitely preferable to other schemes. Let me come to the NPS Vatsalya scheme. I think it's what, two weeks since, or 10 days since you have launched, or not even 10 days. How has it been doing? Good reception?
It's doing pretty well, because as we speak, we have about 27,000 children onboarded into NPS Vatsalya, and most of them doing through eNPS, which is a self-initiated process that they're doing that. And I think it's a good trend. Given in terms of demography where we have, as you were mentioning, that we are the most populous, youngest country on the planet. And this is a time and to inculcate in children the habit of saving and social security.
Now, the point of interest over there is, if it is a Vatsalya scheme, I mean, if you're entering when the child is like 5 years or 10 years old, should you not give 100% equity? I mean, there's no reason why a child should be in a debt scheme.
See, the investment pattern remains exactly the same as it is for the NPS adults. So maximum that one can go, that somebody goes in for active choice, and you say that I prefer equity. So that would mean 75% equity that one could do. And I would think that since this is a pension kitty, this is a reasonable ballpark in which we can put equity. And scan of global pattern also what we see, we don't find anywhere 100% equity, as you know, that is for a pension fund. So 75% is good enough. And children, they can go for active all through their life. They can have 75%.
You can give 75% till you're 60.
Till you're 70. The pension scheme, one can open the account. You mentioned about longevity, that keeping that in view, that one can even open an NPS account fresh at the age of 70. So now with the Vatsalya coming, see, the range has widened from 0 years to 70 years. One can open an NPS account.
Well, one of the questions which wealth managers keep asking us is, why doesn't the PFRDA allow the funds to be handed over to a balance advantage fund, where I don't have to say when you go from equity to debt? The fund manager decides dynamically. Is that even in your horizon, in your thinking?
No, we have given many options. I'm saying active choice, where the individual had the choice. And they can also change their allocation of the portfolio 4 times during a year. So we have no objection if and no issue if they take advice, because we also have retirement advisors. They can get professional advice. But we have not left it to the pension fund, where people themselves are not able to decide. See, we have this life cycle fund, so which are pre-planned, pre-designed, keeping in view the both returns and age factor.
So I appreciate all the variety you are giving. You have given aggressive option, moderate option, conservative option, and you have given the life cycle option. But the option that the wealth managers desire is that in 2 years or sometime in the middle of the year, I think debt is more attractive. And then I come back to equity after 2 years. So is it even contemplated, or do you think it's an idea you would consider at some point?
No, this is an idea. We may have to reflect on that. But as things stand now, that's not the case. So, yeah.
Okay. Any other new products that we should know of before I start the important questions on UPS?
We are coming out with a life cycle balanced fund. That's going to be launched on 1st of October. Yeah. So, which again balances the return and the age. And it would be 50-50, as you said, this kind of a balanced fund, 50 equity, 50 debt. Yes. And the tapering starts much later. Because the current life cycle fund, the tapering starts at the age of 35. People say we are very young at 35, we should be accumulating and taking risk. Why should you taper at that age? But now we have made it 45. And it gets balanced at age 55 because you don't want to take endpoint risk because of the market fluctuations. But even at the endpoint, the equity component remains 35% and the debt component remains 65%. So that would be launched soon.
A very attractive product. Okay, well, before I take the break, I wanted to ask you about, more a Reserve Bank kind of question, where the place where you came from. There is a sizable amount of growth in this long-term patient money. If you take the pension fund kitty, yours is 13 lakh crore. If you combine the private sector, that also is, I think, standing at 11 lakh crore or something pension fund, plus insurance. It's 113 trillion kitty, growing at nearly 18-19%. Bank deposits are 210 trillion rupees, growing at 11%. So very soon, this will match. Do you think that you should allow pension and insurance, more generally, I'm not asking you only about your kitty, should be allowed to invest more in infrastructure, where the country needs, more patient money?
No, certainly. At current level also, infrastructure investment by the pension fund is quite good. Because sizable portion of our investment is in corporate bond. Is this 13 odd lakh crore we spoke about, about 23% is in corporate bond. So 2 lakh crore out of that is in infrastructure. Okay. And we have also allowed investment in REITs and InvITs and new investment vehicles, which is
I was just going to ask you that. So you are allowed to.
Yes.
InvITs would be an infrastructure investment.
Yes.
That is allowed.
Yes. Okay. So this alternate investments we have allowed, but we have kept that as a separate category. Okay. Those who understand it can take that kind of a risk, can certainly come in. Okay. But we do look at the instruments coming in the market and do allow our pension funds to, of course, they would have to take that investment call within those limits.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for that. This big patient money is also getting channeled into infrastructure, but within limits. I have a bunch of questions on the newly announced unified pension scheme as well, but those interesting questions after a very quick break.